What's up YouTube, Zero here, and today I have an absolutely amazing Lugia EX, Ho-Oh EX, and Blissey deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build on the left hand side of the screen, I'll talk about each of these cards individually, and I'll talk about why this deck is absolutely amazing and why you should be checking it out. Before we get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. Do a bunch of other video games, so feel free to check those out as well. Without further ado, let's start talking about this deck. And I'm going to talk about the two Pokemon you're going to want in that active slot as quickly as possible, and that's going to be Magby and Pichu. If you start with one of these baby Pokemon, it's going to make this deck a lot better. It's going to be more beneficial. That's going to be the ideal start, with one of these two in that active slot and one of the other three on the bench, whether it's Ho-Oh EX, Lugia EX, or Chansey. Lugia EX is going to be the closer. It's going to be really what you're looking for at the end of the match, so it can deal that massive amount of damage. For what Magby and Pichu do, they do the same type of what I would call attack, even though it's not really an attack. Magby has Toasty Toss. Take a fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So that's very important to note, is that it's a basic Pokemon. If you evolve Chansey into Blissey, Magby cannot attach energy onto Blissey. Same thing with Pichu. Pichu has Crackly Toss. Take an electric energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So this deck is fantastic when one of those get into the active slot right off the rip and start attaching energy onto one of your Pokemon, whether it's Lugia EX, Ho-Oh EX, or Chansey. You're going to start building up that energy. Of course, Lugia EX requires one fire, one water, and one electric energy. And yes, I do run this deck with all three of those energies, because every other Pokemon in this deck requires colorless energy, so it doesn't matter what energy are equipped on each of those Pokemon. So I do run it with 3 energies, so I can build up energy on Lugia EX without Ho-Oh EX being there in that active slot, but it does help. So of course, Magby is going to take fire energy from the energy zone. Pichu is going to take electric energy from the energy zone and start attaching it to one of your Pokemon. So these two cards are absolutely phenomenal, really great for any deck, these baby Pokemon, especially ones that start building up energy, because they don't require energy to attach or to enact whatever their attack is. So these baby Pokemon, despite only having 30 HP, if you get to start turn 1 and you have one of them in the active slot, they don't require energy, so that's pretty great. You can still get on top of the ball and get ahead of your opponent. So I love these two baby Pokemon in this deck. Magby is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. I do only have one of them in this deck. And Pichu is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Lugia packs. Just note, I do have only one of each of them. Next, let's talk about Ho-Oh EX. Ho-Oh EX is a phenomenal card to start generating energy onto Pokemon on the bench. Ho-Oh is going to be great. It combines amazing with Lugia. It also combines very well with Chansey. Remember, Chansey, not Blissey. And I'm going to read you the reason why in terms of Ho-Oh EX's attack. Phoenix Turbo. So Phoenix Turbo, for 3 colorless energy, deals 80 damage. You also get to take a fire, water, and electric energy from your energy zone and attach them to your benched basic Pokemon in any way you like. So note, Ho-Oh EX's attack is almost like Magby and Pichu, in that you can only attach the energy to basic Pokemon on your bench. So if you've evolved Chansey into Blissey already, you cannot attach these energy onto Blissey. So just be aware of that Ho-Oh EX combined with the Chansey Blissey combination in this deck, you have to strategize a little bit. You can't just evolve right into Chansey if you want to utilize Ho-Oh EX to start building up energy onto this Pokemon. Same thing with Magby, same thing with Pichu. If Chansey is on the bench, you can start building up that energy onto Chansey to evolve into Blissey. But if you've already evolved into Blissey, you're not going to be able to utilize any Pokemon in this deck to build up energy. So you have to strategize a little bit if you want to build up that energy on Blissey. Of course, Blissey is nice, and I'm going to talk about it more in depth in a second. But really, it's nice to battle those pesky Oricorios. Oricorio can't be damaged by EX Pokemon, so running this deck with just Ho-Oh EX and Lugia EX, if you come across an Oricorio, you're going to have to forfeit. So Blissey is a way around that, and Blissey can deal a decent amount of damage the more energy that's equipped on Blissey. But let's finish off Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh EX can be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. But since I've been talking about Chansey and Blissey so much, let's get into them. We already know what Lugia can do. I'll talk more about Lugia in a second. It is the closer, so it's only right to talk about it last of all the Pokemon. But let's talk about Blissey. Blissey has energy below for 3 colorless energy. And this is why Magby, Pichu, and Ho-Oh EX pair great with the Blissey Chansey. Again, it's more so Chansey because you can build up the energy on Chansey and not Blissey. But Blissey has for 3 colorless energy below, deals 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So even though it deals 20 plus, it requires 3 energy to attack. So it's 20 more for each energy. If you have those 3 energy equipped, that means for just 3 energy, you're dealing 80 damage. That's okay, but it's still, in this deck sense, pretty easy to build up energy on Blissey. Because of Magby, because of Pichu, and because of Ho-Oh, it's fairly easy to build up that energy on Blissey. So after you get those 3 energy equipped for energy blow, you're already dealing 80 damage. Any more energy on top of Blissey is just even more beautiful. The reason being is because Ho-Oh gets to take 3 energy from the energy zone and equip it to benched basic Pokemon however you like. So if you have 1 attack from Ho-Oh EX, that's already 3 energy onto your Chansey, giving your Blissey already an opportunity to attack as soon as you evolve. If you have 2 attacks from your Ho-Oh and you decide to put that energy, all of that energy, onto Blissey as well, or Chansey as well, has to be on Chansey. If you put it on Chansey as well, you now have 6 energy on your Chansey getting ready to evolve into Blissey. So that 6 energy is 120 damage, plus the 20 is going to be 140 damage. So Blissey, as soon as you evolve that Chansey, after you've equipped all of that energy you want, can really deal a lot of damage after a few attacks from Ho-Oh EX and equipping all of that energy onto Blissey. Again, this can deal with the pesky Oricorios, and it can be sneaky if you're not drawing your Lugia. Remember, and if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, I actually only have 1 Lugia in this deck, and that's because I don't want to draw Lugia right away. I kind of want to wait. I want to get Lugia at the end of the match after I've built up energy on these other Pokemon. I want to attack once with my Ho-Oh EX, and then I want to equip those 3 different energy, the fire, the water, the electric, onto my Lugia to be my finisher, to finish off any insanely powerful Pokemon that my opponent may have. So Blissey is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. And of course you need Chansey because you need to evolve. I have the one from the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. There are a couple of Chanseys in this game. This Chansey for 2 colorless energy has Scrunch. You flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks. So you're really not going to be attacking with Chansey, even if you have the other Chansey in the game that requires 3 energy to attack, hopefully you're going to get enough energy on it ready to attack with your Blissey. Blissey is a fairly good Pokemon, especially when combined with Pokemon that can build up energy quickly. Last but not least, let's talk about our closer, Lugia EX. Elemental Blast for those 3 energy I was just talking about, 1 fire, 1 water, 1 electric, deals 180 damage. So you're gonna be demolishing any opponent in your wake. Most of the Pokemon in this game, you will one-hit KO, barring any giant cape. You're gonna one-hit KO every Pokemon. Now, after you attack with Elemental Blast, you have to discard a fire, a water, and electric energy. So it is nice to attack twice with Ho-Oh, build up 2 fire energy, 2 water energy, and 2 electric energy onto your Lugia before you get your Lugia EX in that active slot and start attacking, because then you can attack multiple turns without having to worry about building up energy again. So it is nice for that after you get your Ho-Oh EX in that active slot and attack twice. Same thing with your Blissey. If you've had Chansey on the field for a couple of turns, it's better that way. So in reality, what we're looking for, Magby or Pichu, hopefully building up some energy on Ho-Oh EX, getting Ho-Oh EX into that active slot, then building up energy on either Chansey or Lugia EX, and then closing off with Blissey or Lugia EX. That's when this deck is at its best, but there are multiple ways of winning. Of course, because this deck runs 3 energy, hopefully you get the energy you need to equip it onto Lugia if it is on the playing field, and then you can attack with Lugia without utilizing Ho-Oh. You might have a Pichu in that active slot. Hopefully you can get a water and fire energy from the energy zone, and then you're ready to attack with Lugia. So there are different ways of getting that energy and attacking. Magby equips fire energy, Pichu equips electric energy, and of course the energy zone is going to be random. It's going to be a 33% chance, but you might have the opportunity of equipping that energy. Of course, Blissey and Chansey, doesn't matter what energy you equip from the energy zone because it's all colorless energy. Same thing with Ho-Oh EX. Lugia EX is of course going to be found in Wisdom of Sea and Sky Lugia packs. Now let's talk about some of the other cards in this deck, and I'm going to direct my attention to the Ilima. Ilima is a phenomenal card for this deck. So Ilima, you put one of your colorless Pokemon that has damage on it into your hand. For those of you who don't know, Lugia EX is a colorless Pokemon. So Ilima works for Lugia EX, and it also works for Blissey. If you've attacked with either of these Pokemon and you've taken a decent amount of damage, you can utilize Ilima to draw that Pokemon back to your hand so you don't lose the 2 points for Lugia EX or the 1 point for Blissey if you don't want. Sometimes it's nice too because Blissey and Lugia EX both have 150 HP. If you are choosing to wall with one of them, maybe you started with Lugia at the beginning of the match and you want to wall with it for a little bit while you're building up energy on your Pokemon on the bench, you can do that as well. Perhaps you started with Lugia EX, you put it in that active slot, you draw Ho-Oh very quickly after you've gotten your Lugia EX, you put your Ho-Oh on the bench, you start building up that energy onto Ho-Oh, getting ready to attack, then you Ilima Lugia back, put Ho-Oh in that active slot, put Lugia back on the playing field on the bench, and start building up the energy with Ho-Oh EX's attack. So there are a couple of ways to play it, but Ilima is absolutely phenomenal for this deck, especially when paired with Lugia EX. And Ilima is going to be found in the Celestial Guardians Lunala packs. Next, a couple of basics. Pokeball. You put a random basic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. There are a lot of basic Pokemon in this deck. Magby, Pichu, Ho-Oh EX, Lugia EX, and Chansey. But you can put one of them from your deck into your hand. And then, of course, Professor's Research, which allows you to draw 2 cards. Next, I have 2 Giant Capes. Giant Cape is going to be great for all of these Pokemon. It's going to allow you to get over some breaking points. It's going to allow these Pokemon to survive a little bit longer. Of course, Ho-Oh EX has 150 HP, Lugia has 150 HP, Blissey has 150 HP, so that can get you over some nice breaking points by making their HP 170 instead of 150. One of the prominent cards that you can think of right now is Charizard EX, the Steam Artillery version, which deals 150 damage, so you can get over that breaking point. Also, Giant Cape is nice for your baby Pokemon, because baby Pokemon only have 30 HP, and there are some Pokemon in the game, basic Pokemon, that deal 30 damage. So to use Giant Cape on your baby Pokemon is going to keep them alive for at least one extra turn, so you can build up that energy on the Pokemon on your bench. So I do like Giant Cape in this deck, and really when paired up with baby Pokemon in general. And Giant Cape is going to be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Dialga packs. Next, I do have one Pokemon Communication. One Pokemon Communication is going to be nice, so if you do have a Pokemon in your hand that you don't necessarily need at that point in time, you can utilize Pokemon Communication and sacrifice that card to draw another Pokemon from your deck to your hand. This could potentially get you a card you need. So I do like Pokemon Communication here, one of them, and that's going to be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Dialga packs. Last but not least, one of my favorite cards is Sabrina. Y'all already know I run Sabrina in the majority of my decks. It is one of my favorite cards. It is an absolutely phenomenal card. You switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Of course, your opponent gets to choose the new active Pokemon, but it's really great to mess up your opponent's strategies, get a Pokemon out of that active slot you don't want to deal with because maybe it has a tool on it you don't want to deal with, such as Poison Barb or Rocky Helm. Or maybe you're going to force a Pokemon on your opponent's bench that has a high retreat cost to the active slot, so your opponent has to figure out how to retreat them. There's a lot of uses for Sabrina, but it's an absolutely phenomenal card to disrupt your opponent's strategy. So I love it. It's a phenomenal card. Absolutely grind for it if you don't have it. It's going to be found in the Genetic Apex Charizard packs. This is a really fun deck to utilize. I've won a lot with it. There are a lot of different ways to win. You don't just have to get Ho-Oh EX into that active slot and Lugia EX on the bench to win. While it's extremely fun to demolish opponents with Lugia EX because it has such a powerful attack, dealing 180 damage for 3 energy, fire, water, and electric, it's not the only way to win in this deck. If you can get Ho-Oh into that active slot quickly enough and powered up quickly enough thanks to the babies in this deck, Ho-Oh can win a game by itself. 80 damage isn't too bad because there are a lot of Pokemon, even EX Pokemon, that have 150, 160 HP or less, and 2 hits you deal 160 damage with Ho-Oh EX, so it can absolutely finish a game off if you're able to power it up quick enough. Blissey is another really fun card, a really great card to have, especially to deal with Oricorio. But if you power it up enough with enough energy, you're going to wreck teams with Blissey because of its attack. So Blissey is an underrated card as well, one that I actually don't see a lot of players using, but it's a really fun and really great card to utilize. So I definitely recommend checking it out, especially in decks where you can build up energy quickly, but it's a great card to have. I love this deck. Ilma is great to pair with Lugia because if Lugia is in an active slot and you don't want Lugia to go down, of course, I only have 1 Lugia in this deck. You could potentially put 2 in here, maybe to sacrifice a Pokemon Communication or another card, but to not lose Lugia, Ilma is here. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of this deck. Have you used something similar? Let me know in the comments section. What are some substitutions of cards you would make in this deck to make it even better? I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and until next time, peace.